What we got for them?
We finally got some parts rolling in for the C6 project that y'all seen in the last video. So I'm gonna show y'all what has come in. Pretty dang sick. They fought me and Derek really bad, and you'll see why here in just a minute.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We should have recorded it, but it took both of us to get these put on there. But yeah, so we got our wheel and tire setup in for the C6. As you can see, it is a, what are these? These are Bogarts, aren't they? Yes. So it's a Bogart, just their standard, 5-star wheel, custom beadlock ring. But you can kind of tell from the front, but you can really tell from the back. This is a solid center wheel. So with the amount of power that this car is going to be making, we didn't want to take the chance of having any deflection or anything in that center. Because once you start making a lot of power with a standard wheel that has all the cutouts in it, it can distort that and it'll kind of bend underneath the power. But they look pretty good from here. I mean, you can kind of tell that they're stretched, but whenever you look at them from this way, you can really tell how stretched this tire is. The customer wanted to do something a little bit different that a lot of people haven't done. So this is a, like I said, this is going to be a no time car, but we're building it for LDR rules just in case he wants to run it. And this is the LDR legal tire. This is a 295 65/15, and it is stretched onto a 16-inch wide wheel. So that's why this baby is ballooned out so hard, and you would not believe how hard that son of a gun was to get on there.
It took everything.
Yeah, it took everything we had. It took us about an hour to hour and a half per wheel to try to get it stretched on there. Because if you've ever bought a new set of tires before, you know that they're concaved in. Just that's how they come from the factory, from the manufacturer. They're caved in. There might be 4 inches in between the two lips, and then trying to stretch that to this 16-inch outside lip, that was not fun. And especially trying to keep from scratching everything. And
yeah, that was my biggest thing. I was like, these are some nice wheels.
Me and Derek was both basically standing on top of the wheel to ever get it up over there.
Standing on it, in it, around it.
But got these in so we can get everything set up for the rear suspension and get a rear end measurement. But since we've gotten these in, we've also kind of just dove head first into getting the chassis built. So we're going to walk outside and show y'all the chassis, or what we've gotten done to the chassis. So one thing you can probably tell is we've moved our chassis table. It was kind of in the middle of the floor, right in the way. And if you've ever done anything like this, once you get that thing leveled and set up to sort of chassis on, you kind of got to leave it there until it's done. So as soon as we got the Nova off, we was like, we're moving this thing to where it's out of the way and in a good spot for us to use. So got it moved over here. Derek it takes a while, spent probably an hour getting this table level front to back. Not a little bit longer.
I spent a little more than that.
Yeah.
The floor right here is split, so
yeah, it's got a little
there's
ground on it, so
back and forth.
Yep. But you have to do that to make sure that the chassis is perfectly level. So got all that done. Obviously, y'all seen before we have what's left of the Corvette on rollers, so we was able to take measurements and get measurements of everything that we needed to be able to place all of our jigs on the chassis table. And then we've pretty much got the whole floor section done on this car so far. This is what Derek's been working on for the past week and got it all done. Got most of the tops all welded out. He just finished the X up this week, so I need to get that finished up welding. But yeah, pretty much the whole floor section is done. You can probably see on the table we have painter's tape on the table that we take and use that painter's tape to make notations and stuff. And like this right here is our axle center line for the front of the car, or for the front wheels. This one back here is our center line for the rear axle. So that is our overall wheelbase, is from this line to up there. And that's kind of how we, that's one of the first things that we did to make sure that our pedestals for our wheels are in the right location, and then to make sure that we can then use measurements off the car to get everything placed where it needs to be. Because there's a certain, depending on what 4-length bar length you want to go with, determines on where your number 1 bar goes. So we're pretty standard with most places. This one's probably gonna have a 20 to 21 inch 4-link bar. So you add that to your axle center line, to your 4-link bracket on your rear end, and then into where your 4-link bracket lands here, and that's kind of how you get this overall measurement. We could go more in depth one day and show y'all how to do that, but that's just kind of the general gist of it. But next steps is to get a rear end measurement. Probably show y'all how we do that in this video, and show y'all that wheel up underneath there because it's gonna look good. And then once we get a rear end measurement, start ordering some more parts. We need to get the rear end material here, get the 4-link brackets here. We need to get some more tubing here, and then probably go ahead and start getting the body put onto this floor section. That way we can do our main hoop and start on the rear structure of the car. Any questions? Got anything you want to add, Derek?
Nope.
Nope. Cool. This one's honestly went really smooth, knock on wood, and it's went smooth and quick. And
yeah, it's been nice.
It's been real nice.
It's been coming together.
Yep.
It's nice having all this room just to walk around.
Yep.
Not having to crawl in and out of a car.
Also, I don't know if we said this is going to be a 25-2. Have I mentioned that this is a 25-2?
If not, the video is titled 25-2.
But yes, this is a 25-2 full structure, if anybody's wondering. 25-2 spec. I know there is another bar that will end up going in here for the 4 structure, but we don't put that bar in until we get our mid-plate halo in, and then it ties in from here to wherever that mid-plate halo location is. And that's all going to be determined on your motor placement and stuff like that. So that bar will go in pretty late in this whole process. So, but yeah, we're going to get the Corvette moved out so we can get these wheels put up underneath it and get a measurement. I know we said this in the last video, but this is like the best thing that we've ever done whenever it comes to a car. It's so easy to roll around. But got this thing pushed out. Like I said, we're gonna mock this thing up for the wheels and tires, get a rear end measurement. We do have to, because there's not a lot of structure back here, I just gotta get a jack stand put up underneath here because it needs to be picked up to about right there just to hold it. Because that's gonna kind of change where the everything sits. So we gotta make sure we got that where it needs to be. And one thing else that we kind of did whenever we did this, just so we could be able to do this, this car is pretty much sitting at ride height right now. This thing's gonna have a 3 to 4 inch ride height, and it's roughly in between that 3 and 4 inch range right now where we've got it set. So we got lucky with that, but kind of planned for it. So it's right where we need it to be, so we can go ahead and mock the wheel up underneath there. That's one thing, if you're mocking your wheel and tire up underneath your car to get a rear end measurement, you need to make sure that it's as close to your ride height as possible, or the ride height that you want, because most cars do have a bevel. You can't really see it from the angle that Derek's at now, but this thing has a crazy bevel in it from the top to bottom. I mean, heck, there's what, 6-7 inches of difference in between there. Luckily, these cars are already set low from the factory, so it's not a huge ordeal. But with some other cars, that plays a huge role in where that wheel and tire needs to sit. So I'm gonna get a jack stand real quick, get the wheels and tires rolled out here, and get a measurement. All right, so we got these big old girls slung over the back and got them inside of this fender well, or this rear quarter panel. One thing that you probably can't see is we had to trim out a bunch of this inner structure inside here just to even get these to fit. But I mean, Derek can kind of show you over there. You can see right through. You can see right through here, there's a bunch cut out, and then all through the front side, which is fine because we're all of this is going to be cut out anyway, and all that's going to be left is this rear quarter panel for what we're doing. But we was leaving as much of it as possible. That way there's some structure back here until we built the tail section. But gonna go over a few key points to whenever you're measuring for a rear end and what you need to do with your wheel and tire. One of the biggest things is you need to get it set in or out however far or however close you want it to your quarter panel lip here. One thing that you got to make sure is like I'm talking about with this bevel, is we do have, you know, probably a 1/2 inch or so, you know, I mean, obviously you can see my fingers can fit up in there, but, and you're like, oh, maybe you can bring that out a little bit more, but we really can't, because on the top side right here, with as tall as this tire is, there's probably less than a 1/2 inch of room in between this quarter panel and this wheel. So you gotta make sure that you're not gonna touch anywhere where you're at. Obviously, I personally, I think most people do, like that wheel to be as close and as tucked up to this lip as possible, because that's what looks best in my opinion. Second key thing is whenever you go to measure, once you get it squared this way, you need to make sure that it's, or once you get your depth in and out where you want it, you need to make sure the wheel and tire as square and parallel with the outside of the car as possible. And what I mean by that is that this wheel is not kicked in or out, because that's going to mess with your measurement whenever you go to take it. If that wheel's kicked on the inside, if both of them are kicked like this, your measurement could either be short on the front side or long on the back side, depending on where you measure from. So that's one other thing. The next big thing is it makes it a lot easier if you have somebody to help you do this, because what I usually like to do is have somebody stand out here, somebody will stand on the inside, somebody will stand on the outside. From the outside, we will take and just run this tape measure through and run it all the way to the other side, and you'll have somebody in on the other side holding it to this back portion of the wheel, which will go in there and show you what I'm talking about. Or Derek can.
Oh, climb my fat ass in here. Okay.
So Derek's going to pull that out over there, and at first he's going to hold it right to the face. And one big thing that you want to make sure is wherever he's holding that at and the orientation on the wheel over there, I need to be in the same location over here whenever I take my measurement. So he's holding it on the outside there, and then your measurement is just going to be whatever number is closest to this outside edge here. So once we do that, you know, we're kind of towards the front of it, we'll take and go to the back side, check that measurement, and then kind of check it all the way around the circumference of that bolt pattern and make sure that we're close all the way around. It might be a 1/8 inch off, and that's fine, but just as long as it's pretty close in your measurement. You got it?
What else you got?
All right, so really the next thing is one thing that I like to do is, let's say that this measurement was 54 1/4 inches wide. I usually will end up rounding that down to 54 inches because it is much better for that rear end to be just, at that point it would only be an 1/8 inch shy side to side. I'd much rather it be just a little bit narrower by 1/8 inch side to side than that thing end up coming out and being just a fuzz too long. Because if that wheel or tire is touching this quarter at all, that rear end is not going to work. So I'd rather take the under measurement on that, be on the safe side, because we can always add a 1/16 or an 1/8 inch spacer behind the wheel. That's not going to hurt anything at all and get those wheels kind of where we want it. But if you make that rear end too wide, you're either going to have to send it back to whoever you bought it from, pay the shipping out there, pay them to narrow the rear end down some, and then have it shipped back, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So I always, like I said, if it's 54 1/4, I always tell whoever's doing the rear end 54 inches. Luckily, we do all this in house now, so we ain't got to worry about that, and we can do it ourselves. So, but that's kind of a wrap on what we do to get our rear end measurements here. But yeah, anything else?
Yeah, let me get out of this thing. All right.
Well, that's kind of a wrap on where we're at on the C6 project. This is pretty excited where it's going, how far we've come in such a short amount of time. I'm excited to keep on with this thing, but a lot of it too is just going to be, this isn't going to be a super fast process because we also are very busy in the shop with a lot of other things we haven't really kept y'all up to date on. Some of that stuff we can't show, but a lot of it's going to be us and the customer working with his budget and how much he can afford per month for us to go. So this will be a little bit of a slower project, maybe, just depends on him. And but we'll put videos out every time we do get an update. Make sure to leave a comment about what specifics you might want to see on this build, whether it's something like, you know, how we take a rear end measurement, or how we get a 4-link spread, or how we determine where our number 1 bar goes, you know, anything like that. If there's certain specifics y'all would like to see, leave a comment. We do read all the comments, and that gives us ideas, you know, for videos. If y'all have any idea or anything that you want to see just a video on its own, make sure to leave a comment. But also too, if anybody is maybe in the market for a C6 chassis, we are thinking about, while we're building this one, building one identical to it to sell. So if anybody's in the market for a C6 chassis, hit us up. You can follow us, or you can get our information on Facebook, Instagram, phone number, email, and let us know if you'd be interested, because building two is almost as easy as building one, to be honest with you. So we'd like to do two, and that'd be pretty cool. But that's gonna be it for today's video, and we'll catch you on next week's video.